it's definitely the case. This is partly too why the injunction to love your enemies is necessary, because the biggest payoff you're going to get from a genuine discussion is one that you have with someone whose views are maximally different than your own, but who is playing an honest communicative game.
Yes.
And so why is that an enemy? Well, you tend to presume that anybody who varies in their fundamental presumptions from you is on the other side of the fence, but they're also the people that have the most to offer if they're playing a straight game.
Yes.
And so,
well, can we try that?
Well, hopefully we're doing that at least as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that, because it was a fair amount of travel. I came down out of the mountains yesterday, it's a bit of a pilgrimage to come up here.
Yes.
I was thinking of every person who's ever asked me about your work, my thoughts on it, me tracking it, us getting to see you when I was with Adrian Grenier and when you came to Austin and getting to see, that was a crazy experience, by the way. Even just walking to that stadium at UT, the throngs of people convening on that stadium and the way everyone was holding themselves, the way they were walking down the streets, stopping together. There were so many couples. There were men, all the young men were wearing blazers. The women were wearing floral long skirts. I said, what the hell is going on here? Is this double scheduled with prom? Is graduation happening? They literally had that vibe. And the last time I had been to that stadium and seen anything like that amount of kind of magnetic draw was when John Mayer and the Grateful Dead had played there. So I was like, what on earth is about to happen? And we went into the stadium and you launched into a very professorial opening. It was Nietzsche, it was Jung, it was all these things. And I could sense the kind of Texas crowd not necessarily having their footing. And it wasn't until you shifted into the Cain and Abel story that you could feel a palpable drop. And all of these wonderful Texans who had been gathered were like, it's Sunday school. We're going to get a Bible story.
Right.
And so speaking of, the infinite game, which if anybody's curious, that's James Cass's concept of finite and infinite games. Finite games are win-lose, right? And have a victor and a victim. And infinite games are win-win, right? And
friendship is an infinite game.
For sure. And and I'm sure you've seen the study on like dark triad folks on both sides of the political spectrum, right? That fundamentally anybody in the moderate middle, the sort of 90% middle, don't score for dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, sociopathy, or authoritarianism. But
sadism.
I know they've added that one. So
you bet they had to add it right? Because it was lurking at the edges.
Totally. Just the idea you get off on doing those shitty things.
Yeah.
But that 5% on the far left and 5% on the far right do score off the charts for those.
Yeah.
And then you map that with Tristan Harris's research, right? The Center for Humane Tech, those guys, that 90% of all social media is governed by 10% of posters.
Yeah.
So you break that 10% in half, and you've got the dark triad folks, the 5% and 5%, posting 90% of what we see and believe each other are about. So,
absolutely.
So there's no.
Well, that's a much better way of construing the political landscape than the political manner of construal. Like a large part of the pathology of the culture war is actually the parasitic predators on the edges. What would you say? With
massive amplification, algorithmic amplification.
And the protection of anonymity.
Right. And
that's really bad.
And so you've got Silicon Valley business interests amplifying it algorithmically to sell ads.
Yeah.
But you've also got bad international actors.
Oh, yeah.
You've got North Korea, Iran, and Russia.
China.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Russia and China, all looking to crack the edifice of this liberal democratic experiment.
Yeah. And enabling the psychopaths, that's a good way to do it.
Right?
You bet.
So the risk I'd like to take and ask you, which is my experience is that you are taking a stand for the most deeply Western traditional expression of the infinite game. And you're saying, don't throw babies out with bathwater. There's something profoundly valuable here in both the Judeo-Christian spiritual tradition, theological tradition, as well as the emergence of Western liberalism.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's your whole hyper-allergic reaction to Stalinism, right? You're saying there's something precious here. And it is under threat from all sides.
It's under threat from precisely the actors that you described.
And you're taking a stand for the infinite game, but you are becoming a weaponized battering ram for Christian ethno-nationalists playing the finite game. So can you, never mind the woke social justice folks, they can't organize their way out of a goddamn paper bag. At this moment, they are not actually a threat. They're a pain in the ass, but they're not a threat. Militant Christian ethno-nationalism being inflamed by Putin, right? KGB stooge, continuation of the Stalin lineage, being undermined and eroded by Christianity. Like, if you could police your own side of the culture war more and call those folks up to truly Christian values, not weaponized ethno-nationalism, then you would unlock something in the culture war debates that we're not getting when you get positioned via audience capture and echo chambers as just beating on the
Well,
woke kids.
people have tried to throw me in with that lot fairly regularly over the last 10 years, and it hasn't been very successful. I mean, I would say a lot of the activity on that front right now has been coming out of, what would you say, the Nick Fuentes crowd online and all the people who are associated with that, absolutely pathological movement.
And tenant media, right? They've just gone.
Yeah. Well, so what does that imply? Well, it implies that the Pharisaic danger is always with us, which is that the highest possible virtues can be weaponized by the worst possible actors. In fact, that's exactly what they'll do. I mean, one of the things you see, for example, with the dark tetrad types is that one of their ploys is victimization. So
yes, either I'm special, or I'm vulnerable, or I'm righteous,
both.
or then I'm vindictive. Like it's a cascade.
Yeah. But they're extremely good by temperament at playing the victim card.
Yes.
And so it's an extraordinarily effective ploy when you're dealing with conscientious people, because you can make them feel guilty, or agreeable people because you can make them feel sorry for you. And so that kind of covers the political spectrum. The psychopaths capture the liberals with agreeableness, and they capture the conservatives with conscientiousness, because they tell the conservatives, well, you're more racist, you're more prejudiced, you're more sexist than you should be. And
they try to guilt them into that.
Yeah, they use guilt. Yeah, they use empathy for the left, and they use guilt for the right.
Oh, and the agreeableness is on the part of the audience. Like, I play the victim, so I'm agreeable, so I'm going to try and help you.
Absolutely. And it's particularly easy to capture women in that manner, because they tend to be more agreeable. So they're much more susceptible to victimization ploys. And it's not surprising. I mean, because women are in a very complicated situation, because when they have infants, at least for the first 8 months of the infant's life, they have to be 100% empathic. And so you have to be able to do that. Now, the problem with having an orientation to the world that's fundamentally predicated on empathy is that the psychopaths can game it.
Yes.
And I mean, that is the fundamental problem. This is also why we know, for example, that young women are much more susceptible to the blandishments of the dark tetrad types, because they can be manipulated in consequence of their empathy, and they don't have the worldly experience to tell the difference between people who are in trouble and people who use claims that they're in trouble to do nothing but manipulate. And this is a massive, like the problem that you laid out of the dark tetrad actors, let's say on both sides of the spectrum. This is a civilization challenging problem. It's not some side effect of the culture wars. It's like whenever society is in a situation where the dark tetrad types get the upper hand, everything is gone.